So in this video, I'll be talking about the short story Shrinking Sinking Land, which is a story that takes place in the future of England, where the climate has drastically changed and many places have been flooded with water by a great storm, which have destroyed most of the population on Earth and has created a dysfunctional society where the land is sinking and the homes are becoming more unsafe and daily life is getting more difficult for people, and the short story, focuses on a girl named Flea and who is trying to survive these casualties. And Flea is the main character of the story, which where who's trying to survive the casualties, yeah. But she's the main character and is trying to save her mother, Shell, who is trapped in a hole inside of a ship, and Flea and her family are all victims of the new climate change that has occurred, which has resulted in Flea and her family have to live outdoors and have to hunt for supplies and accessories for survival. And the short story, of course, uses a third-person narration through Flea's thoughts, where the readers can follow and understand Flea's thoughts and perspective on the climate change, which helps the readers to understand Flea's emotions, of course, and the setting of the story. And the physical setting is in a flooded environment on Earth, which is destroyed, and the place is in Manchester, England. And if we just look at the characters to begin with, we have a few characters. We have Shell, who is the mother of Flea, and we of course have Flea, who is the main protagonist and the daughter of Shell. And their relationship is complicated since they treat each other more like siblings, and Flea only refers to her mother as Shell. And this relationship between the two characters show that their family roles are no longer beginning to are no longer the same as the ones were before, but it's beginning to change, which is shown through how the characters behave and act towards each other. Flea acts more as the adult and is trying to be the optimist and save her mother from being buried alive, while the mother Shell is more passive and pessimistic and has given up on life. And this is, of course, shown in the following quote in page 34, line 3 to 4, where it says, "She didn't want to leave," said Shell. "The old folks in these flats won't ever step out the weather again. They'd rather left be drowned in the comfort of their own homes." And this perfectly explains that the older generation have become far weaker mentally and is now giving up on hope, exactly as Shell is doing in the short story. And this is because she has suffered a lot through these casualties due to the storm and the climate change, and that have made, yeah, her suffer from depression and paranoia. And since she has also experienced all these things, she has also lost everything, and her home, like she lost her home and her husband, which has done that she has just beginning to give up on everything. And Shell is, of course, stuck in a hole, so Flea decides the best way to get Shell out of the hole is by using an umbrella, and she could use this as a tool to fish her mother out of the hole by using a rope at the same time. Um, but if we look at the umbrella symbolizes as a shield and a tool for survival, and this umbrella gives hope for Flea that she can save her mother from the difficult situation she's in. However, as the story progresses and goes on, Flea as Flea is trying to convince her mother to have some faith and hope that she can survive this, but Flea's mother then decides to tell Flea in page 36, line 13 to 14, "Take your umbrella and get out of here, Flea," her mom said, her tone softer now. "There's no sense in us both going down with this sinking ship." And this is, of course, a turning point in Flea's optimism, where she decides to leave her mother, even though it hurts, since there's there's no chance she could save her from the hole in the sinking ship. Therefore, it is a very depressing story because she couldn't save her mother and get her out, and this makes us readers reflect over what type of influence a dangerous climate change can affect human beings and how this terrible storm has destroyed people. And as we see in the following quote that explains how Flea actually got this umbrella to begin with, it says, "I took it from the old lady on the fifth floor," and this explains another important thing, which is human beings are beginning to become more savage and have to steal from each other to survive in this world, in this new dystopian world that has occurred. And as the following quote mentions in page 33, there's only a week left until the global mandatory hibernation, and this perfectly illustrates that the world is about to experience even worse weather conditions. And in the story, it indicates that the world is becoming more worse by the following days that are arriving. And this is perfectly explained through the language and style writing, which is very descriptive, which gives the reader a better understanding on the circumstances regarding the short story. The language is very direct and is representing the same type of speech and vocabulary just as ours in the real world. This makes us, readers reflect more on the short story's message and theme. The message is mostly focused on the world will be heading in a very dangerous state where the climate will drastically change and nature will be destroyed if we as a society doesn't protect the climate and makes the living conditions better. And the sinking land, which is of course mentioned a lot in the text and is the title of the text, becomes a symbol of a bigger global issue, and the story encourages readers to think about the responsibility they have and they need to act before it's too late. They need to act to save the world's global issues so we don't end up in a dystopian future like this in the short story, which is perfectly explained how difficult and how dangerous it is if this type of thing actually happened. And the theme is just a regular sci-fi about family bonds and, of course, problems and tragedies regarding the living qualities on Earth, but also um, the bond between, yeah, Shell and Flea, which is not very the best normal family bond, which is also created some. It's also about family and climate change at the same time. And if we can actually if we look at the short story, we can actually see it has some elements of sci-fi. It is a sci-fi climate fiction, but also has some science fiction. It explores the future and shows the consequences of the real world problems, like of course climate change, and it's also set in the future. And it is in the in a flooded future in England where extreme weather has destroyed society, and this of course has created a dystopian world, which is of course typical for sci-fi, but also a sci-fi. And it does make us reflect more about the future as readers as we're reading this story. And we can compare the story with a film called WALL-E, which shows Earth is destroyed because of pollution and waste, and humans cannot live there anymore. And this is similar to Shrinking Sinking Man, where the world is flooded and people struggle to survive because of climate change. And we can also compare Shrinking Sinking Land with Planet of the Apes, where humans have now lost control of the world because of their own actions, just as Shrinking Sinking Land. And this is very similar because humans have made a lot of mistakes and all these mistakes have led to a broken world. And all of these texts and film perfectly illustrate and show that people must change and adapt when the world is becoming more dangerous to try and avoid a bad future and a dystopian world.